He pulled the trigger once, and in a single heartbeat, the whole frontier turned against him. Towns locked their doors, bounty hunters followed his trail, and every friend he ever trusted vanished into fear. But what no one knew was this: he never meant to kill the man who died that day. Now hunted by the living and haunted by the dead, one cowboy must cross a land filled with hatred to uncover the truth. Stay until the end, because the final confession will change everything. The frontier town of Red Hollow was the kind of place where dust never settled and grudges never died. Wooden streets groaned beneath wagon wheels, saloon doors swung with anger more than laughter, and every man carried a pistol like it was part of his soul. Among them lived Caleb Mercer, a quiet ranch hand known for working harder than speaking. He was broad-shouldered, steady-eyed, and carried the sadness of a man who had already buried too much. Caleb had once been a family man. A wife named Anna, whose smile could calm storms, and a little boy named Tommy, who believed his father could fix anything broken. But fever had taken them both one cruel winter, leaving Caleb with an empty cabin and a silence so deep it followed him everywhere. Since then, he lived simply, working cattle, helping neighbors, and keeping to himself. Yet peace never lasts long in places built on violence. One hot afternoon, Red Hollow's richest landowner, Vernon Pike, rode into town with 6 armed men behind him. Pike owned half the valley and wanted the other half. He smiled like a snake and spoke softly, which made him more dangerous than the loudest gunman. That day, he came for old Martha Keene's farm, the last fertile patch near the river. Martha was a widow, thin as wire, stubborn as stone. She stood on the porch clutching a rusted shotgun while Pike laughed from horseback. "You can sign the deed," Pike said, "or I'll let my men tear the place apart." Caleb happened to be nearby delivering grain. He saw fear in Martha's eyes, and something long asleep inside him woke up. He stepped forward. "That land's hers," Caleb said calmly. "Ride away." The street went silent. Pike looked at Caleb, amused. "You gonna stop me, ranch hand?" "I'll try." The men around Pike reached for guns. Martha screamed. Horses shifted nervously. Then everything happened too fast. One of Pike's men drew first. Caleb reacted on instinct, yanking his revolver free. A gunshot cracked through the valley. But it wasn't Pike's man who fell. It was Deputy Eli Boone. Eli had rushed between them at the wrong moment, trying to stop the fight. The bullet struck his chest. He staggered backward, eyes wide with shock, then collapsed in the dirt. The town erupted in screams. Caleb dropped his gun as if it burned him. "No, no!" Eli had been loved by everyone, honest, brave, newly married. He was the kind of man towns pray for and rarely get. Blood spread beneath him, while his wife, Sarah, came running from the mercantile. She fell beside him, crying his name. Caleb moved forward to help, but rifles were suddenly aimed at him from every side. "Murderer! Hang him!" Pike hid a smile. Caleb backed away in horror. "It was an accident." No one listened. He fled on horseback with bullets chasing him into the hills. By sunset, posters were already being nailed to walls. Across the frontier, word spread fast. A deputy killed in cold blood. A dangerous gunman on the run. Townsfolk spat at his name. Hunters smelled reward money. Even people who once shared meals with him shut their doors. And Pike? He bought drinks for the town and promised justice. For weeks Caleb hid among canyons and abandoned mines, living on stolen water and regret. Every night he saw Eli fall again. Every morning he heard Sarah's scream in his head. He could have ridden south and disappeared forever. But guilt chained him stronger than law. Then one evening an old drifter named Jonas found his campfire. "You didn't kill that deputy by chance," Jonas said. Caleb looked up sharply. Jonas tossed him a silver sheriff badge covered in dirt. "I saw Pike's man fire first. And I saw Pike smile when Eli fell." Caleb's heart pounded. "You mean, it was planned?" Jonas nodded slowly. "Pike wanted Eli dead. Deputy was gathering proof Pike burned farms and stole deeds. You were just the fool he used to pull the trigger." Caleb stared into the fire, horror becoming purpose. For the first time since that day, he knew what he had to do. He would return to Red Hollow. Not to run. Not to beg forgiveness. To bring down the man who turned one wrong kill into a war. Caleb rode back through the frontier like a ghost no one wanted to see. Posters with his face hung in every town, weathered by dust and rain. Children threw stones. Men reached for rifles. Women crossed streets to avoid him. But hatred no longer mattered. Truth did. He and Jonas traveled secretly, gathering evidence Pike thought buried forever. Burned barns. Forged land deeds. Witnesses threatened into silence. Families driven from homes at gunpoint. And always one name behind it all, Vernon Pike. Still, proof alone would not save Caleb. The frontier wanted blood, not facts. So Caleb made a dangerous choice. He rode openly into Red Hollow on Founders Day, when the whole valley gathered in town square. The moment people recognized him, chaos exploded. "It's Mercer! Shoot him!" Sheriff Dalton raised a rifle. "Get off that horse!" Caleb dismounted slowly and lifted empty hands. "I came unarmed." Pike stepped from the crowd, dressed neat and smiling wide. "Look at this. The killer returns." Murmurs spread. Caleb's voice thundered across the square. "I killed Eli Boone by accident. But Vernon Pike murdered him by design." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Pike laughed. "A desperate liar." Caleb turned to Sarah Boone, who stood near the church dressed in black widow's clothes. "I failed your husband," he said. "I'll carry that sin forever. But he died trying to expose Pike." Then Jonas emerged with ledgers, signed threats, and letters bearing Pike's seal. Witnesses stepped forward one by one, farmers, laborers, even one of Pike's former gunmen. Fear had ruled them. Caleb's return broke it. Sheriff Dalton read the papers, face draining pale. Pike's smile vanished. He drew first. The shot tore through the square. Caleb shoved Sarah aside and took the bullet in his shoulder. Pain spun him sideways, but instinct returned like lightning. He grabbed the fallen sheriff's revolver and fired once. Pike's gun flew from his hand. A second shot hit the church bell rope, sending thunder across the town. Men rushed Pike and pinned him to the dirt. The frontier stood silent. Not because a villain had fallen. Because the man they hated had saved them. Sarah knelt beside Caleb as blood soaked his shirt. "You could have run," she whispered. "I tried running from guilt," Caleb said weakly. "Didn't work." Tears filled her eyes. "Eli believed men can choose what they become after failure." Caleb closed his eyes. When he woke days later, he was in the church infirmary. No chains. No guards. Outside, townsfolk rebuilt fences Pike had burned. Farmers returned to their land. Children played where fear once stood. Sheriff Dalton entered carrying a folded paper. "Your pardon," he said gruffly. "Signed by every family in the valley." Caleb stared at it. "I don't deserve it." "Maybe not," Dalton replied. "But you earned it." Months later, Caleb repaired Martha Keene's farm and stayed on as caretaker. He never wore a badge or carried fame. Some wounds do not vanish. Some names never fully heal. But each sunrise, when the valley glowed gold, he felt something he thought buried with his family. Peace. Because one wrong kill had turned the whole frontier against him. But one brave return had turned truth back in its place. A single mistake can destroy a life, but it does not have to define one. A person is not measured only by the worst thing they've done, but by what they choose to do after it. Even in a world full of judgment, courage and truth can still bring redemption. If today's story touched your heart, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. And remember, even a small act of kindness can change someone's entire life. Red Heart.